you're watching live, checking us out on YouTube, or listening on your favorite podcast provider, you are most definitely my people. Welcome to another episode of Botch Bots and Chair Shots. I'm your host, a chef by trade and a mark by choice. I am the Will Gray, and joining me tonight is the director of all things HR for Wrestle Talk. He is my esteemed co-host of Botch Bots After Dark. He is the belt collector, Big Mike the Hill. Mike, welcome back, brother. How are you?
1 second. I don't know why this is loading. It's ruining the whole effect.
You're
ruining the fucking effect. Yeah. All right.
I got real serious. I was like, what the fuck's happening right now? I was like, he was just there.
Right when you said live. Fuck it. Yeah. I'm doing great.
You're doing great?
As great as I can be.
Are you excited for the episode?
That's a fucking movie, man. It's Chyna, of course.
Did you do anything exciting this week since the last time I talked to you?
Let's see here. Worked again. Worked again. Get a double on them 2 days. That worked.
Well, that sucks. I was expecting something, but you work more than I do.
No. Yeah, it's right now just trying to get things going, and then try to get the. I think I got most of the shit figured out. Right now, taking the hiatus from Free Talk for a little bit. And stuff, and I'm still doing this because once a month, and we're planning next month for something else, but it's still it's nothing like doing it every week right now. So it gives me the time to relax and try to just get the rest I need. Especially we're working 2 jobs, 1 full time and 1 part time. No, sir. I'm on a podcast right now. I did not take that out of your room. See, this. I'm getting a lock for the door when it's locked and you can't come in. All right. Hi. Bye. Yeah. Okay. Absolutely. Yeah, you're a wonderful girl. Yeah.
Hi.
Tell her I said hi and I love her.
Well, it says hi and I love you. She heard you, by the way.
Good. I wanted her to know. She needs to know that she's loved and appreciated, Mike. At least by one of us. So.
I tell her when I get home.
You tell her at least once a day. That's all that matters, then.
All right, I tell her every day. Tell her in the morning. It's a kiss, love you. And then when I get home, kiss, love you. Before I go to work, kiss, love you. I don't know what times I gotta say it.
You're a very loving man, Mike. I have no doubts. I'm just giving you shit because I can, Bubba. Mike, let me ask you a question. What has you pissed off for greatness in pro wrestling this week? What has you the most worked up? Good, bad, indifferent, a match, a title, gear, any otherwise? What has you pissed off for greatness?
So, I'm going to put a couple of things to bed. So, before we talk about Chyna.
Yeah.
So, as you know, I got banned.
You got it. We're going to have to get the board back. We used to have a board for the show, and it was like how many days we've been since somebody got put in TikTok jail. We're going to need to bring the board back for you now. All right. So, sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt. Finish your story.
You're good. I got banned, and I'm going to say a few things, and thank God this is not attached to any of your other stuff right now. Roman's storyline that's going on right now is one of the best storylines. I got respect for the man coming back from leukemia, doing his thing, and I know the significance of the 1,000 days.
Okay.
It just becomes stale after that long. You see the same thing, and I still believe that he should be at every show, not wrestling every show, but at least at every show. I understand you got people that are buying your merch, there's people there to go see you, and then next they buy a ticket to go see you, but they find out you're not there. It's kind of. I understand you're a heel, and I'm also pointing out that I'm not going to be PG with this. The Roman dick riders need to stop because you guys are the toxic part of the wrestling.
Did you just call them Roman dick riders?
Yes.
I wonder what we could figure out. How would we get the alliteration where we needed?
Yeah, they're the ones that literally would suck the skin all right off his dick.
That's graphic. Yeah. I'm here for it. Tell me how you really feel.
Yeah. Yeah. The WWE hasn't been the same since the Ruthless Aggression era.
Allison says it's so still. She agrees with you. She thinks the Roman storyline's starting to... They keep going back to the well and thinking of new ways to make it fresh again, but they're eventually... My thing was eventually... Ooh, sorry. Eventually, they're not going to be able to go to that well. There's going to be nothing left. And a couple bad weeks of the fans not being invested, and they're up shit's creek. They're walking a really thin veil right now and a really thin line as to what they're going to be capable of.
I didn't even watch Raw
tonight at all. You haven't watched it at all?
No, because literally the community is so damn toxic. I love wrestling, but they're making me not love it anymore. I will talk. It's at the point where this right here is awesome. We can do this and we can talk about older stuff, and there is no one left him turning on the family. But all right, that's not absolutely true. There is people left. There are people that.
What's up, Shadow? Thanks for stopping by, Bubba.
But which one's Shadow? I see A and I see Zach. Oh, that must be that Shadow.
That guy's Shadow. I would assume that's our boy Shadow. Big shout, that. Big much love to Off the Top Media. Love those guys.
So my whole thing is I fucking love this shit. If I did not have a passion for it, I wouldn't lose an account, start another account, and continue doing it. And still coming back and doing my thing and starting, going on, trying to get podcasts going on other people's podcasts, and doing that, and even doing this.
I love the shit out of you no matter what. I know it gets frustrating. You missed... I did a good talk today with Haley about this on the BWP over there with my British friend. We talked on the Mental Health Monday. We talked about the subtle art of not giving a fuck and figuring out what in your life you need to give a fuck about and how you want to exert your energy to give those fucks. Because every day you only have so many fucks to give. And it's where do you want to... So it's all about where you want to allocate those fucks. And that's what I was talking about today on the BWP.
Right now, my are all about going to work and just taking care of the people that are around me right now. So,
well, I love the shit out of you, Bubba. Al says, I still say Paul is the mastermind behind the bloodline imploding. It's part of a bigger story. I don't disagree with that. She's been preaching that for a minute, and I can't say that I disagree with her. I think Paul may be the mastermind behind all of it. We've seen him play that role. It wouldn't surprise me if that was it.
No, get this. You don't have to destroy the bloodline per se.
No. There's ways to get around it.
You can still keep the bloodline. Understand that lineage of that family. Just like the Hart Foundation could have went for a decade, 3 decades. You could have did that for 3 fucking decades. You can do the same shit with this. And all you have to do, they find out Roman's whatever, blah, blah, blah. You could have the elders come down, Rikishi or whatever, do whatever thing they're going to do. You could have Rikishi even be a manager of the bloodline. Kick Paul out, give him a stink face. He's the new manager. Roman doesn't like it. And now he's going against an elder.
Broadcast in the house. One of those bloodline entertainment family. What's up? Thanks for stopping by. I don't really have anything.
Now you just gotta. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I don't really have anything that has me pissed off really this week. I've had a really low key week. I really didn't like my big one. I'll relay what I said on Sunday. I think that Billy Corgan missed an opportunity on Saturday night by not putting the national heavyweight title on Silas. I'm still on Team Silas, the Thrillbilly. He was the most over person in that building. And I think they missed a chance by putting the belt on him. If they'd put the strap on him on Saturday night, the roof would have literally blown a mile into the air because of how hyped everybody would have been for that. So I'll ride what I said on Sunday. I think that they should have put the belt on Silas on Saturday night, and they didn't. I love Trevor Murdoch and Knox winning the Crockett Cup, though. I'm here for that. I love good old school wrestling. So I'm a pretty happy guy right now in wrestling. The week is still young, though. They still have plenty of time to piss me off before Sunday. But we do, Mike, we do have a bit of business to get to tonight. We're going to talk about...
Oh, yeah.
We're going to talk about our girl.
We were about to just do a straight fucking wrestling podcast here.
No. I had to keep it on the rails, man. We could talk about wrestling as much as we want. We've got 7 days a week to stream. We only do After Dark once a month, and we always talk about the extracurricular side of the wrestling world. And the lady we're going to talk about tonight has plenty of that. So let's start.
You got that picture with that title up.
Oh, of course. He's going to... Oh, look. He's going to go grab that title. So we're going to talk about the ninth wonder of the world, Chyna, man. It's one of those, like, where do you start? So we'll just start at the top. I'll just throw you the softball everybody wants you to answer. Like, what's the first thing that comes to mind when you see Chyna, when you think of Chyna? Who do you think of? What does she mean to wrestling?
If it wasn't for her, women's wrestling would... If it wasn't for her, there would have been no Leah, no Chyna. I mean, no Trish. There wouldn't have been a main event Raw. There would have not been the Becky Lynch's, the Rhea Ripley's, the Mercedes Moné or Sasha Banks, whatever you want to call her, the Baileys and all that stuff. You would not see them going into Hell in a Cell. You would not see them doing that. We would still have bra and panties matches right now.
I think she played a huge role in the evolution of women's wrestling, because up until that point, with the exception of a sensational Sherry and, you know, a fabulous Moolah and a few of these other ones, like, if it wasn't for some of these women in the 80s and 90s, we wouldn't have... Lita's would have never been an option. Rhea's would have never been an option. Al says Chyna walked so Rhea could suplex. She's absolutely right. Chyna did so much for the sport, like you were saying. You've got to... I'll echo everything you said. She changed how women were wrestling and how wrestling was done by women. There's a cat walking across my desk.
Can I say one more thing real quick?
No, absolutely. No. Go for it.
You asked me what has me pissed off for greatness. I actually just found this out. Did you know nobody showed up at Mean Gene Okerlund's fucking funeral?
Really?
DDP showed up in a handful. 5 different people. Hogan never showed up. Nobody showed up.
This is going to sound bad. When did Mean Gene pass?
This year, I believe.
Really? I'm gonna look up the date real quick.
When did Mean Gene Okerlund pass?
From hotnewhiphop.com. Mean Gene Ackerlund passed away at the age of 76 on January 2nd after health complications from a bad fall in December.
2019. That was 4 years ago. For some reason, that just slipped my mind. But we can't divert too far off topic. We're here about Chyna.
Yeah. No, we'll get on that at a later time. But I just want to throw that in there.
Chyna. She was trained by Killer Kowalski. The irony in that is that Triple H also came from that training academy. Like, Triple H also trained with Killer at a totally different point. He was older than Joanie. But she trained with Killer. She trained to wrestle men because that was all that was in her class. She didn't have a woman to wrestle in her class. She didn't have another female to learn with. So she learned to wrestle men because that was the only option. She was also stacked. You can't forget about the fact that the women's championship picture right there is that 2000s range. When I switch it over to the picture I'm about to switch to from 97, you can see how she's not built like a woman was in 1997, and by that I mean she's got that big bodybuilder like build.
Yeah, she was a bodybuilder.
She was stacked, right? Like, that's the best way to put it.
Yeah, she was a bodybuilder before she went into wrestling.
She debuted in 1997. She was originally it was a pay-per-view. Triple H was having a match against Goldust, and this is back when Marlena was his valet. And Triple H and him are tussling. And Marlena's on the outside, and Chyna's on the front row, and she interferes with the match. And she, like, grabs Marlena. Yeah. And this is during this is that 97-ish range, so you got to keep in mind, this is like IC title, European title, Triple H. And then the following night on Raw, Triple H and Goldust are still going at it, and Chyna comes out. And the picture that I put up now is her coming out. She's in real basic gear. She looks like, a super green rookie with the old school WWF logo. So first thing that comes to mind when you see somebody like Chyna on your screen, knowing what wrestlers have looked like, walked like, and worked like up till this point.
You want that one time?
Like, how do you think the wrestling world reacted to having somebody like this on their screens? Like, Chyna was totally different than everybody else.
Oh, dude, they were like, holy shit. And see, this is what I don't understand. Women back then wanted to do that stuff like they're doing now. Marlena actually told Chyna, when you shake me, I don't care how much it hurts. You shake me to make it look perfect. I don't care if you break something. Do it. And that's how badass these women were back then. We're just as bad. They were even better back then.
Something I found out about Chyna, I didn't realize this until tonight when I was doing some research before we got going. I've watched the A&E stuff. I've watched, I've done research for this topic. But one of the things I found out was she was approached originally by WCW. She was approached by Eric Bischoff and Ted Turner about coming on and being a member of the NWO. And I find that fascinating because that's a huge what if. Like, let's look at her career and think about, okay, let's rewind 18 months before she makes that debut at the pay-per-view and she comes out on Raw. Let's rewind about 18 months, Mike. What do you think her career would look like if she had decided to sign with Ted Turner and WCW and she came out as a member of the NWO instead of a member of DX?
I think she would have wound up in the WWF somewhere or another just because the way they treated women's wrestling in WCW. They didn't take it serious.
You don't think like a Medusa or anything like that would have helped? Yeah.
If with Medusa being there, I think it would have been, it would have been great. I think it would have been phenomenal. And I mean, but the question is, would there be a women's championship there if she would have showed up to face Medusa?
When Eric Bischoff brought Medusa in and she did the infamous dropping the WWF women's title in the trash can bit.
They're supposed to have a championship.
Well, that was what they were bringing Medusa in for. Alundra Blaze was supposed to be that person. She was supposed to be the lady to revitalize the women's division in WCW. And they kind of floundered with it. They did the same thing when Bret Hart came over after Montreal. They kind of floundered with his return. There were lots of times where WCW fumbled the ball. Do you think had Chyna came in, she would have just been another shown opportunity where they just fumbled?
I think they would have fumbled just because of their track record, not because she can't do it. It's just because love WCW to death. I like Eric Bischoff. I mean, shit, I like Vince Russo. I like a lot of them. But the shit that they were doing, and it's mainly, not to go off topic, but mainly because of, the Hogans and the bullshit that was going on backstage, the politics. I think she would have been another person there.
So when the idea first surfaced and Shane and Triple H and Shawn, because they saw her at a kind of like an indie spotlight, like a showcase.
Mm-hmm.
And they went to Vince and they were like, hey, we want to bring her in to kind of be our bodyguard, our heater. What do you think about it? Vince was initially like, no way.
No. I was going to believe that.
Why do you think Vince was initially like, not a chance, this isn't going to work?
Because it would be believable for a woman to be a man's bodyguard. And the problem is, a lot of the ideas that even came in the WWF wasn't fucking Vince's. It was either wrestlers or the other writers like Russo and the people, the other people that were there. I think, all in all, I really believe, it's not what I know, but it's what I truly believe. Vince McMahon only had maybe 25% of the ideas that were there. And
I know when Russo was on the show, he said that things like when they planned DX, for instance, he said Shawn and Triple H were super involved. Vince wasn't the McMahon that was as involved as you would think. Shane was super involved in forming DX. Shane was super involved in bringing Chyna in. What do you think about Shane McMahon's involvement with the WWF, WWE transition? Because he pulled a lot of strings and played a lot of roles and has had his hand in a lot of things, including on-air feuds. I mean, he's been thrown off of every high surface. He's been thrown off of more high spots than what Jeff Hardy has jumped off of. Do you think Shane plays a more vital role in the success of the WWE, WWF through the Attitude Era than what he's been given credit for?
I think the people that gave you the holy fuck moments that made you want to watch Monday are, Mick Foley, Austin, Shane McMahon, just the crazy shit that they did. Even when Cactus Jack returned to face Triple H, you were ready to watch Monday the next day to find out what the hell happened. Like, you were at that television, you weren't missing it whatsoever, and if you were going to miss it, you were going to tape it.
When you look at Chyna, historically speaking, I'm going to switch pictures again. This time I'm going to switch it over. This is when Triple H was the European champion and Shawn Michaels was the world heavyweight champion. And she had the Wing Eagle on one side and she's got the Euro title in the other. She's always known for the black leather gear. Big fan of that, mind you, as the man side of me. I've always thought she was a good looking lady, but she always came out in that patent leather look. When you first saw her as a kid, you and I are roughly the same age. Like, what did you think about Chyna? Like, at this point, because now that she's established, she's a year or so into her career in WWE, she's become a menacing threat, she's had a chance to manhandle some guys. What did you think about a young fan watching Chyna at this point?
I thought she was fucking amazing. I mean, she did talk, which made it kind of mysterious. I thought, just all in all, I thought she was amazing. I mean, I honestly looked at Triple H and Shawn. It was like, if this woman would just clunk your guys' fucking heads together, she'd probably beat you guys both with them titles. And then she had her jaw. Uh, uh, she got plastic surgery to get her jaw thinned out so she could look more feminine.
She did have surgery. She had multiple surgeries because she had to deal with a lot of the flack throughout her career, especially early on. There was a lot of that slander that came out. And Al says, as a kid, I didn't even watch wrestling, but she knew who Chyna was. And I think that kind of says everything you need to. She had a lot of flack. They had a lot of the whole, used to be a man talk. And I hate that stuff. And in 2023, it wouldn't even be an option. You wouldn't be allowed to even talk like that. And I think it's ridiculous that she had to deal with it when she did. But it didn't hold her career back. She continued to be successful with what she was doing and how they were doing it. This is where you start to get into a little bit of the dark side and the after dark side of the conversations, because she had, at this point, a very emotional off-screen relationship with one Hunter Hearst Helmsley.
Yeah.
We know that. We know they've talked about it. There's interviews about it. Triple H has talked about how Chyna was the last serious relationship he had before Stephanie. And there's some speculation, I think is a good way to put it. That'll be the PC way to put it. There was some speculation that Stephanie McMahon was involved in the breaking up of Joanie and Triple H, of Joanie and Paul. This is us speculating. Once again, when we do this, we put our tinfoil hats on and we like to speculate and talk about the rumors and the conspiracies here, Mike. But do you think Stephanie played a role at all in Joanie and Paul breaking up and Chyna and Triple H beginning their on-screen feud?
They and don't forget they were actually engaged to be married too. So, but I think they both were. I think once you put that, they had that whole thing with them. I think it started right around, if I can remember correctly, it happened right around the time where they did the Triple H marrying her when she was knocked out
in the Las Vegas drive-through wedding scene.
Yeah.
I love that shit. WWE used to go so hard in the 90s.
That's I think it started maybe a little bit before that.
Al chimes in, says, per Chyna's documentary, she said that she died. She said before she died that Stephanie stole him from her.
Yeah, I mean that's how she felt. That's how she felt. You have to understand, you have a big muscular woman and stuff like that, and you have a guy that you're in love with that's now looking at a petite, younger woman that's also the boss's daughter.
When
she can't compete.
We'll get to kind of some of the mental health stuff, but do you feel like when you look at her career as a whole from 1997 to 2001 when she left the company, that's only 4 years. And we've seen people like Trish who came in after her, but she's had a career that's lasted decades. Do you think this was kind of that catalyst point for her? Was when Stephanie came into the picture and the split happened between Chyna and Triple H and it became Triple H and Stephanie. Do you think this is kind of like that point for her that slowly started to be the downfall?
Yeah. She was hurt.
She was, and you saw it in her work. She had issues with injury. She started. She had to fall back on painkillers and stuff like that to help cope with injury and everything. She had a few firsts though. 1998, she was the first female entrant into the Royal Rumble. We saw her go head to head with some of the men in that one. We saw her have a feud with Mark Henry. they had a feud and an on-screen relationship, and it was this back and forth with him. That was a great story that was kind of like peak Attitude Era in that 98 range. And in 1998, we also saw her first turn on Hunter. It was the first time that she left Triple H and kind of stood on her own. What do you think?
I think that's right around. That's right when the affair was happening, right?
That was, I think, either right after the breakup or right before it actually happened in real life. The in real life Joanie and Paul relationship was coming to an end at this point, and there was speculation that Triple H and Stephanie had already started dating each other.
I honestly believe that nut she gave him was real.
When she did the turn in 98?
Yeah.
I mean, I wouldn't surprise me at all if it was. If it wasn't, I would be like, oh shit. Like, I definitely think the Stephanie McMahon.
You're not big.
I think the Stephanie McMahon stuff, like, definitely played more of a role than people have given it credit to. Because you see it in, like I said, this is when you start to see kind of a shift in who she is, but it doesn't affect her overall in-ring work though, because she continues to go in. We go into 99. She enters the Royal Rumble again, so that's 2 years in a row. She rejoins with Triple H. They break away from DX and turn on everybody. They join the corporate ministry, which has Stephanie McMahon in it, mind you. So now Steph is involved in an in-person, like, in real life affair. She's also involved in a storyline on camera with Hunter and with Triple H and with Joanie Chyna. So now we've started to see Stephanie overlap herself in multiple stories and circles of Chyna and Triple H's real and on-screen lives.
So you have to understand what kind of, like, how hard that would have been. You have to understand. You're looking at your former fiance. You're working in the same company, in the same stable. Why he's messing with this girl, and you have to keep a straight face because your job's in jeopardy.
So when you think about it, like, she's continued to build up to this point. Think about the fact that there is a women's title. Chyna hasn't had anything to do with the women's title picture. Why do you think they didn't book her in the women's title picture at this point? She was this big dominant woman that was beating up on these men and being in the men's Royal Rumble. Do you think if they had booked her in the women's title picture earlier, it would have avoided her becoming the Intercontinental Champion? Is the only way for her to win the IC Championship to win it first without being the women's champion first?
Yeah. Honestly, I believe that. And the reason why she get booked, I think they maybe attempted and she said no. But you have to understand, the women to work with back then were petite. They weren't, I'm sure they were athletic, but they weren't able to show their skills in the ring. So with that, have her go in there and dominate it, it would look more unfair, believe it or not.
So you think booking her as a strong female competitor in the men's division leading to her winning the IC title was the right call then?
Yeah, absolutely.
Looking deeper into 1999, the woman went on a fucking rocket ship. She was the first female competitor in the King of the Ring. The Queen of the Ring wasn't even a thing at this point in 1999. How big was that for the industry, for Chyna to compete in the King of the Ring and be in 2 Royal Rumbles all inside of, 26 calendar months? So a little over 2 years, she did 2 Royal Rumbles in the King of the Ring.
Was she the first woman to ever be in the Royal Rumble?
She was the first female entrant in the Royal Rumble.
Well, yep. And then the first woman to ever compete in the King of the Ring.
Correct.
I mean,
within 2 years of each other.
Yeah. They seen potential in her, and I think they were really trying to push her. But I think, once again, with everything going on, kind of hard,
For her to win the IC title, she had to beat an exiting Jeff Jarrett, old Double J, in my backyard right up here in Nashville, Hendersonville area of Tennessee. When she beat Double J, she beat him in a good housekeeping match on his way back out of the company, because he came in 97 and he did some work with the NWA Invasion angle. He was the NWA representative in the 98 Royal Rumble as the North American champion. And then by 99, he had established himself in the WWE. He won the IC title. And now he's like, I'm not getting over like I wanted, so I'm going to go back to WCW now. He's on his way out of the company, and they're like, okay, before you go, you got to drop the IC title, and we want you to drop it to Chyna. This is one of those, it's a softball, man. How do you think Jeff Jarrett handled that conversation with Vince Russo and Vince McMahon and all the characters there, and was like, hey, by the way, you're going to have to drop it to a woman?
This is what I think it was. From my understanding, he was holding it for ransom.
He did.
For like the money. Yeah. So they're like, okay, fine. We'll honor it. I'm sure they signed a contract or whatever, and they got to pick whatever person they want, for him to drop the title to. He's like, all right, bet. So, big F you to Jeff Jarrett. You're dropping it to Chyna. You're losing it to a woman. One of the greatest women, might I add, but they didn't know that at the time. They just thought, oh, we're going to have you be beaten by a woman. And it's a big F you to you.
I didn't realize this until when I was doing the research for the episode. You know what Jeff Jarrett's asking price was? He had a cash payout for losing this match. You know how much it was?
I forgot what the price was, but I don't remember right offhand, no.
$300,000 to take the pin from Chyna. That's how much WWE had to eat for him to do it. He was like, I will take it and I will put her over, but you have to pay me over $250,000 for one payday to do this. $300,000 to take the pin from Chyna.
Yeah, and from my understanding, the majority of the money that he was getting was money that he was already owed.
See, but this is the question though. Like, and I know the whole argument of 1098s, and I'm sorry guys, I didn't mean to burp in your ear. Drinking soda this late, I'm old. Leave me alone. But
I didn't hear.
When you look at the way the contracts are worded, we could fight all day and say, okay, the WWE owed Jeff Jarrett all this money, but between the underwriters and the legal teams and Jeff Jarrett and Vince McMahon and Jerry Jarrett and all the brain trust that goes into all these men signing contracts, do you really think the contract existed at this point in 99 where Jeff Jarrett was really getting screwed by WWE that hard? Like, did they really owe that man that much money?
I don't think it was that much. I think he raised it up quite a bit. But I think he was owed quite a bit of money and just was like, you know what? Fuck you, Vince. This is how much you got to give to me to be able to lose, for me to lose this title. I'll bring this shit to WCW. And Vince didn't want a rehash of the Women's Championship.
I did some math once for my WCW side project I do with Dad Hat Wrestling, World Championship Wreckage, our WCW history pod. I did the math. I love Dad Hat. Shout out to Dad Hat. When I was doing it with him, I did the math, and they spent something like a cold, crisp, like $4.5 million on guitars throughout Jeff Jarrett's career.
Oh, yeah.
Like, I looked it up, and in an interview, he said that he roughly broke a guitar, every day throughout his career, every match throughout his career for like 16 years. So I went in and I looked, and I was like, okay, let's do the math. So I went to the cage match, no free shout-outs, and I checked his database, and I averaged his matches for that 16 years. And it was like $4.5 million on guitars. You know what's even more fucked up about it, Mike? WCW was buying name brand guitars. They were buying like real fucking guitars for Jeff Jarrett to break.
See, that's the stupid shit right there.
Yeah.
Like, you could have so much in WCW. So fucking much.
You couldn't buy a $50 first act guitar to crack over somebody's head. Instead, you go buy like a $400 or $500 Fender. Like, that's ridiculous. I'm not even like a diehard musician anymore, and that makes me mad.
I mean, dude, like WCW made stupid choices. I still love WCW to death, but still, they made really stupid fucking choices.
Okay, so Chyna wins the IC title. Let's get back on track.
Yeah.
You and I could talk about just about everything forever. So Chyna, she gets the IC title, okay? She feuds with the Ayatollah of rock and roll, Y2J Chris Jericho, okay? So we're after the 2000 point. Chris Jericho's in the WWE now. And they start going back and forth. She beats him at one pay-per-view, then loses it at another pay-per-view. Then they do this weird match on SmackDown, and I think you'll remember it, where there was this like screwy finish, and Stephanie came out and she awarded them co-champions of the IC title. So her and Chris both were IC champions, and they had to like defend it independently. Like somebody could challenge Chyna for the IC title, or somebody could challenge Jericho for the IC title, and it was this weird like co-champion thing. You remember when this happened in that 2000, 2001 range?
Yeah, and then they recreated that with Lake Cool.
They did later, yeah. They did it a second time with another one. Like, I think this was a cool run for her. I liked her as a single star. At this point, feuding with somebody like Jericho who can talk, I think giving her a chance to finally, like, come into herself and be on her own on the mic, I think that was crucial at this point in her career.
Yeah. I like Jericho, but for him to say what he said on that podcast about how she was horrible in wrestling, it baffled my fucking mind.
I like pieces of Chris Jericho, but he's one of those guys where I have to separate the person from the work, because the person Chris Jericho is a yucky person. I say that a lot. Like, people are sometimes just yucky. Like, outside of the ring in 2023, Chris Jericho's just a yucky person. He just is. He's yucky. Just call it what it is.
He was a fucking dick. He was a douchebag.
But he was over as fuck, dude. This was right before they pushed him to the moon with the Undisputed World title, where he beat Rock and Austin both in the same night.
Yep. Jericho, the wrestler, the guy in the mic, the Raw's Jericho. Fucking love the guy.
I loved Raw's
Jericho. The whole
I thought that was awesome.
But the man, I never got to meet him, but he's a fucking bitch.
I've got a signed copy of his book. Let's keep rolling.
I wouldn't deny an autograph from him.
I've got the list of Jericho. Yeah, it's on my bookcase. 2000. She's still singles run. Her and Triple H have gone back and forth, but this time she pairs up with Latino Heat Eddie Guerrero.
He was the original Mama.
Yeah, the original Mamacita. And this was such a cool storyline, because keep in mind, like, Eddie is still fresh in WWE at this point. You know, that 2000-2001 run, like, he just came over from WCW. He's in that mid-card push. He wins the IC title from Jericho. She joins with him. They have an on-screen love affair. They're Mamacita and Papi. Like, the original version of what we got with Dom and Rhea now is what we see, like, Rhea and Dom. Like, there's so many parallels to what they're doing with that story. So, like, do you think, like, at this point you see Chyna work with Shawn, Triple H? She's had tangles with Goldust and Marlena. She's tangled with Chris Jericho. She's had on-screen rivalries and feuds with some of the greats that came through the Attitude Era, right?
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
I mean, like,
she had matches with Mick Foley.
it wasn't like she had a great career for a female wrestler. Like, at this point, to only be 3 years in, like, this is a ridiculous career for anybody, not just a women's wrestler. She was a #1 contender for the world title as a female competitor. She was an IC champion. She competed in the Royal Rumble twice, the King of the Ring. Like, that's a hell of a run for anybody, let alone the fact that we're talking about a woman.
Yeah, she's the only woman to fight for the WWF Championship.
Correct. That's what I'm saying. And people sleep on the fact that her WWE run was 4 years, 97 to 01. And in that 4 years, she did all of this as a woman in the men's division. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Like, that's crazy to me. Like, when you think about it, and you and I talk about it, everything she did in her career in WWE was in 4 years, and we just touched base. It just blows my mind, okay? I'm going to show this next picture.
Just look at her, dude. Fucking beautiful, dude. I don't care.
She was gorgeous. I said it from the get-go, but we all know I like my girls a little thick, so she was right up my alley. There's nothing wrong with that. We don't yuck any yums here at Botch Bots and Chair Shots.
I was watching this Vince Russo, and he said that she's got this Herman Monster laugh. Came to TNA. He hasn't seen her so long. He just kept staring at her, saying how beautiful she was, This was a little bit after she passed away. He was telling the story, and I was watching it, and like he was trying to like not cry at the same time, and he was all like, "Dude, you just knew it was her because she had this Herman Monster laugh, and he loved it. Like it was, I loved it. I liked watching that episode of his podcast, so it was awesome."
When Russo was on the show, when we get to her towards the end of her life, we'll say that way. I've got some cool quotes because when Vince was on the show, I got to talk to him about it. After she had a chance, no, you're good. I've got something specifically from Russo when I had a chance to interview him. After the Eddie run, in 2000, that was when the infamous Playboy issue came out. She negotiated and talked to Hugh Hefner. She went on and she was on Playboy. I mean, that's huge. One of the first WWE superstars to do it. She went in there and she fucking rocked out. Huge selling issue. One of the top sellers. She got catapulted into the... Sorry?
And Sean was on Playgirl. So.
Well, okay. The second one. She was the first female superstar to do it.
She's the first WWF superstar to be in Playboy.
Yes. But it says it right there on the front. She was the WWF wrestling phenom Chyna. This catapulted her into the main event picture for everything beyond wrestling. She transcended the WWF at this point. You were talking about Chyna on MTV. They were talking about Chyna on VH1, BET. Every mainstream pop media outlet was talking about Chyna at this point because she was a WWF Intercontinental Champion, Royal Rumble. Now she's on Playboy. What does it say about her career? Mm-hmm. We talked about the 3 years in WWF, but then you catapult it to being the cover, like, centerfold of Playboy on top of this ridiculous in-ring run. I'm going to change it off of this so I don't get the banana on Twitch.
I'm just saying Ben Stiller. I mean, you've seen it, right?
Yeah.
I'm sure you've seen it.
I have a copy of it.
I mean,
for research, right?
I looked at it when I was younger for circles, that biker murder thing, that really was a hardcore hit. That was a hard-hitting story. No, no, dude, there's nothing wrong with her, dude. Like, Triple H is fucking insane. That's all I gotta say.
So after
you're gonna get a boldy. No, sorry, go ahead.
No, I disagree with you. After the Playboy issue aired, she got back into the main event picture, but this time, Mike, for the first time in her career, late 2000s run, boom, Chyna is in the women's title picture. She's going against a future Hall of Famer in Ivory. They have a great feud, several good matches both on regular TV and in pay-per-views. And Chyna claims her only WWF Women's Championship. And so that's the picture from her and Chyna, the promo picture. And then this is her after she wins it.
Ivory was the best person to put her against. Ivory was on par with Chyna when it came to wrestling, and she just didn't get treated like that. But the storyline was perfect. That's how she was able to get the women's title, because there's no way she would have went against. I mean, maybe Jacqueline. That would have probably been another one. I mean, Jacqueline was the only woman, not the only, but the first woman to hold the light heavyweight title.
Jacqueline won the light heavyweight title, and then she was also in the cruiserweight title picture in WCW with Crowbar.
Yep.
Facts.
And could you just imagine if Chyna would have been able to win that title too?
If she had won the light heavyweight title?
Yeah.
I think she would have, if she had kept competing in the men's division, I think she would have been a shoo-in for that European title run. Another random cat out of nowhere.
I still would have loved to see her just one run with the WWE Championship, but Vince would never go for it. Even she was more over than most of the people there. Once you heard her music hit and she came out with that bazooka, come on, man.
Vince wrote himself into the title picture, so I'm not necessarily saying Chyna winning it would be out of the question. Completely plausible.
I don't know. I guess we will never know. Yes. And we can't know because we can't read Vince's mind. So,
after her WWE run come to an end, she had once again, she battled with drugs and alcohol and addiction a lot throughout her career. Shortly after her WWE run, she did something in 2002. She had another huge first. Okay, so 97 to 02 now. So we're 5 years into her career. She becomes the first female competitor, period, in New Japan.
Yep.
She goes to Japan, and Vince can't read his own mind. Okay. She went to New Japan. She was the first female competitor in New Japan Pro Wrestling. They didn't have a female division. Joshi Wrestling was its own thing. She goes to New Japan, though, and she competes alongside the men. When she's over there, she had matches with Tanahashi. She had matches with Masahiro Chono. Like, she had, when they were doing the fake Great Muta guys, she was a tag team partner with the fake Great Muta. Like, she interjected herself in a short time. It was a short run, but she had big matches in New Japan. It was one of those things where, like, everywhere she went. And if you look at the picture, man, she had super long hair in Japan. Like, her hair had grown at a long...
I remember when my friend showed me this. He was like, dude, Chyna's in New Japan. And this is when I still kind of had like friends that were into wrestling that would come over and hang out and bullshit. And I'm like, no fucking way. Came out, he showed me, and I was like, no fuck. I'm like, that's Chyna. I couldn't tell at first. She looks so fucking different. She colored her hair. I believe it was either blonde or blondish red. It looks like. I did not know it was her at first. But she looks so much different right there. She lost a lot of weight.
I was gonna say super thin, way more trimmed. Like it's like she cut a lot of it back and then like toned hella toned up for this point in her life.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm.
I think that when it shows that she could be a star everywhere she went, she had successful matches at every level that she was in. After she left in 2002, she kind of left wrestling. She had, like I said, she fell back into the routine. She had more issues with drugs, more issues with addiction, more issues with alcohol. But she did resurface in wrestling in 2011. And the irony is when she came back in 2011, she debuted in Impact, and she had a short feud with Jeff Jarrett and Karen Jarrett.
Yep, in TNA, that's when Kurt Angle brought her out as Kurt Angle's surprise partner.
Yeah, she was
not really, but
she was listed as like an assistant or consultant or something like that, and she ended up being a tag team partner at like Under Siege or something crazy that year.
Yeah, because he was like, since you want to keep getting involved, I'll go ahead and get my own. and you guys will team up, and I have my tag team partner. And I was like, okay. And he was like, my tag team partner is Chyna, and then Chyna came up. I remember that episode.
If you look at her here,
was that was TNA, not Impact at the time, right?
I think it was TNA and Impact was the show. It hadn't switched to the Impact name for Impact Wrestling yet. It was TNA Impact, and Impact was the name of the show. When she came out, look at the amount of work she had done. This is from 2011. So if you look at the 2011 picture, and then I'll switch it back over in just a second to her 1997 debut picture, and I'll put them side by side. Impact and this one. And let me put it like this, and then I'll move it. Like, boom. Like, if you put them side by side like that, and you just look at the two of them, and I know it's a little blurry, but, like, you can obviously see the amount of work she had done to her face and her nose and her jawline. And this is only 15 years.
I mean, this was a big difference from when she was in WWE. This was a big difference from when she was in New Japan.
Huge difference. I mean,
and when I first saw her, I was excited, but at the same time, looking at her, I was sad, dude. I'm like, why would you do that to yourself?
So this is 2011 and 2001, to put them like side by side. 10 years difference.
She's still gorgeous, but it's just knowing that she did that to herself just kind of was sad. You know, she looked great. I don't know why she would do that.
So after she got out of TNA, the last run was when she really kind of started to have the final touches of her downward spiral. We know she had multiple neck injuries, she had multiple back injuries, and that's what led to her use of self-medicating with painkillers and stuff like that. And then you mix it with alcohol and the partying that was happening. It leads to people not making the best decisions. So it wouldn't be a little bit of Botch Spots After Dark without bringing up a good old-fashioned sex tape, okay? So the rundown is the Red Light District Video Service, which is a good old-fashioned adult entertainment production company. They released a movie called One Night in Chyna, and it was Chyna and her boyfriend, who was at the time Sean Waltman, a.k.a. X-Pac, right? She says that it was released without her permission, and what she decided to do was, when she wanted to market it, she was making lemonade out of lemons. Do you think there's any, is there anything that holds water with the whole Sean released this without her permission? Did I lose you? Uh-oh. Bye, Mike. Oh, there he is. What's up, bud? You there?
Sorry, man. I was having problems. It was like glitching out on me and stuff. And I'm like, what the hell's going on? All right. Go back.
Do you think that
sex tape, boyfriend.
Yeah, do you think Sean Waltman, aka X-Pac, released it without her knowledge? Do you think he went to the production company to pad his pockets to make a little bit of money out of it, and then she really just had to make lemonade out of lemons?
Yes. From my understanding, the story was that she wasn't there. That he was like feeding her little liquor and drugs and getting her all messed up to where she wasn't coherent. She didn't know anything that was going on at that point in time.
The picture I just put up is a picture late in life. This was near, I think 2015 was the timestamp on the picture when I was Google searching and looking for some stuff, doing some research. I
have an ad up right now, and 10, boom, there we go.
Yeah, no. When you look at this picture, this was roughly within about a year before she passed. So once again, I'm going to open up the Impact picture, and we'll have it right beside each other, and you'll be able to see. This is the difference about 4.5 years makes. She was going through some stuff. The sex tape came out. She was still battling with drugs, alcohol, and addiction. And you can see the drastic change it made in her appearance in only 4 years.
Yeah, I think when you get plastic surgery, you got to continue doing it. And to be honest with you, I think her face just started kind of shaping back to where it was.
Also, she also did a bunch of reality shows on MTV.
Yeah,
that I didn't know about.
Yeah, it was the Celebrity Rehab.
Oh yeah, I do remember that now. There were a couple. Steve-O was on that one too, I think, at one point. That's weird.
Yeah.
So then we get to the sad, unfortunate passing, and there was a lot of points where you talk about Jeff Jarrett owing money or being owed money. Chyna says that the WWE owed her money. When Russo was on the show, it was I think the 5-year anniversary, 2021. And we're coming up on what, 6 years, 7 years, 8 years, it'll be 7 years this it was 7 years in April.
Yeah.
2016 to 2023. So that's what, 7 years. 7 years in April. So it was at the 5-year mark, almost 2 years ago when I interviewed Russo. But the point is, whatever the case was, I'm fucking up my dates. But he said that when Joanie called WWE towards the end of her life, she was just trying to figure out a way to make a paycheck. She was willing to do anything. She would coach, she would go in, she would do whatever they needed. She just needed some way to help get back on her feet. And Russo said, Russo was last year, so it would have been the 6-year anniversary of her passing. Sorry, thanks, Al. He said that Joanie did everything she could to try to get back on her feet, and nobody from WWE answered the phone. And he said he wholeheartedly blamed Vince for that fact, that toward this late in life, somebody that had such success in his company, he just refused to answer the phone. Do you think Vince McMahon played a bigger role in her passing than what people are willing to admit?
Yes. I the one thing I can't stand is wrestling fans think they know what's going on. The problem is you can investigate all you fucking want. You don't know what's going on. And the number one thing people are not seeing is that wrestlers, once they're used and done and they don't need you anymore, you're thrown to your throne. They don't care. Like, they don't. Like, the only reason why they'll bring Ric Flair on is for that pop. Or Hogan is for that pop. That's to line their pockets. They can give zero fucks about anything else. You've seen how quickly they're ready to take you out to Hall of Fame second, just so they don't have to get the scrutiny. Instead of backing the people up that they're, that made them money, made them who they are. And to me, as soon as wrestlers actually start finding this shit out and actually start opening their eyes and going, you know what? Fuck that company. I'm going to find another company to work for. And then it gets to the point where WWE's struggling to find wrestlers. That's when they're going to find out, shit, we're actually treating these guys like shit.
Al says she thinks Vince, Triple H, and Stephanie played a role in it, and she says she also feels like if Triple H would stop being a coward about it and speak up, she would be in the Hall of Fame solo like she deserves. So, Mike, that's my last question for you. Do you think, with a short run, she only had a 4-year run in WWE, call a spade, but in 4 years, she competed in 2 Royal Rumbles, competed in King of the Ring, held the IC title twice, was the number 1 contender and only female competitor to ever fight for the WWF World's title, all in 4 years. She was a member of the most dominant faction in WWF history in DX. She was the heater and bodyguard for the 2 biggest stars at that point leading into the Attitude Era and the birth of Stone Cold and The Rock. But at that point, Triple H and Shawn Michaels were two of the biggest stars, and she was right there beside it. Do you think in 4 years, Chyna did enough to warrant her own WWE Hall of Fame induction?
I want to show you this.
That says it all.
She's the GOAT.
Do you think she's the greatest female competitor of all time?
Absolutely.
I put her up there. She's on my Mount Rushmore of female competitors for sure. I'd probably say in my top 2 or 3 at least. At this point, I would say... yeah, go ahead.
I'd put her number 1. It's not because she died. It's not because of the era I grew up in. Women right now are doing phenomenal things. But they would not be there today if it wasn't for, or at least they wouldn't be there as fast if it wasn't for Chyna.
I can think there are multiple men main event stars, not main event stars, but like big TV players that haven't been primetime players in 2 Royal Rumbles, been a standout in King of the Ring tournament, been a number 1 contender for the world title, and hold the IC title. There are men that have been with the company for 20 years that haven't done all of those things, and Chyna did that in 4 years.
Mm-hmm.
That's crazy.
She deserves to be in the Hall of Fame by herself. And the shit that Triple H said on the Broken Skull podcast, oh, we got kids, and if you Google Chyna, this is gonna pop up. All right. Well, you had no choice but to put Chyna in there because they put X fucking.
Yep.
If they found out X name, Sean Waltman,
same thing happens.
That will pop up. If you Google fucking Hulk Hogan sex tape, guess what you're gonna find? You're gonna find it. You're gonna find all that stuff. You don't see them diminishing Xavier Woods right now, do you?
He had the one with Saraya.
Yeah.
That's crazy. I always forget that till people bring it up.
I mean, I guess in a way they are kind of doing it because he's the only New Day member not to win the WWE Championship. So, but they didn't throw him away. And I know in wrestling you never say never, but in Chyna's case, it was fucking never. And because Vince couldn't stand that she got upset because she just lost somebody. She lost the one guy that she supposedly loved and loved her and all that shit. Get the fuck out of here, man. I'm tired of Vince using people. They're people. And just as soon as they go downhill or they're not doing that good, you completely erase them. That's the same thing that happened to Perry Saturn. You didn't see them trying to go like, oh, hey, you know what? He's having been. Let's try to get him into rehab. Let's try to get him back on his feet. You're a multi-million-dollar company. You see one of your ex-employees having a hard
billion-dollar
company. You can't tell me you can't shell out a couple fucking grand to get this person into rehab, push them to do better, and bring them back in. What kind of pop would she would have fucking got if she would have walked down that ramp?
You're absolutely right.
She would have blew the fucking roof off if there was even a roof.
Agreed.
I believe windows would have shattered.
All right, Mike. Well, we did all the damage we can do for one night. We hacked another one off our list. We'll be back in a couple weeks with another edition of Botch Spots and Chair Shots After Dark. But before we go, tell everybody where to find you. Plug your stuff. Put yourself over.
All right. Right. Even though I'm taking the hiatus from Free Talk Wrestling, don't forget to go to the Panda Wrestling Company and go check out Free Talk Wrestling. And of course, right here on Botch Spots and Shots with the homeboy Will Gray right here. You can also follow me on TikTok. I'm also kind of taking a hiatus from right there. I'm still doing content, but I'm still making my decision if I'm going to start doing lives again or not. You can check me out. You can find me on All Wrestling for Life. You can also follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and for shits and giggles, if you want to ask me any questions whatsoever about any of these last few podcasts we had, when it comes to Chris Benoit, Chyna, or Owen Hart, or any future ones, you're more than welcome to ask me on Instagram or go ahead and follow me at Shady09MN on Twitter or on Snapchat.
I think that everybody should check us out on Twitch at Rivet City Radio. That's the podcast network. That is the broadcasting home for all things Botch Spots and Share Shots. If you check the links in the description, you will find one for Angry Lemonade. That's our merch shop. You can go there and buy some of our sweet merch, the bottle cap shirt, the orange ribbon leukemia awareness shirt, God Bless Luthez shirt. That's my favorite shirt we have, and we haven't sold a God Bless Luthez shirt yet. Check out our Angry Lemonade. Also check our Discord link. Click that. Join the Discord. That's a cool place to hang out, talk about wrestling, whatever you want to do. And I have a pop coming up June 10th for the Hot Like Sauce Barbecue Company. So if you're in the Nashville area and want to check out some barbecue, check out my social medias and check that out. But for All Wrestling for Life, Big Mike the Hill, I am the Will Gray. Thanks for stopping by and listening, my people.